Okay, but Tatum, how did you come out of this?
Oh, okay, right. So after getting super heavily into it, somebody invited me to go to church, and I was a like anti-Christian at this point. Like all other religions except Christianity. But eventually I started warming up to the idea of going to church. And so someone invited me and I started going, and I was like, well, I can be open-minded, and if I'm going to listen to like all these other deities, like
Hmm.
all these religions, I can give Christianity, like I can just manipulate Christianity to fit my own little
Yeah.
belief system like I do everything else. So I started going to church, and nothing clicked instantly, but it was just kind of like, oh, this is fun. Like I like going. And I was working at this store, and a lot of weird spiritual things started happening. Spiritual attack started taking place. Looking back, I know. And I wasn't even like, at this point, I still was in the new age stuff. But one time we got a new employee. I was training them to work at the new age store. And on my way home, I almost died, like in a car accident. I didn't, but almost. It was like weird. Like I lost control of my vehicle. That never happened before. I was just sitting there like, what the heck happened? And then the next day I was supposed to come into work, and I had extreme illness and extreme pain that I literally thought my appendix just burst. Like I'm about to die. And then instantly after I called in, I was like, hey, I'm not going to be able to make it into the store today. As soon as I hung up, the pain went away. I was like, that's weird. So then people, that's whenever they started telling me like, oh yeah, you need to protect yourself from evil that people are putting on you. So they were like, this new employee is jealous of you. She's giving you the evil eye curse. Like so I was like, okay, like people are cursing me. Like what?
Yeah.
I didn't know that was a thing. I kept going to church, and more like weird things started happening. I was doing tarot card readings. I saw demonic black orbs. It's weird because I don't know how much detail to get into some of this.
Tell
Like
me. No, tell me.
I was doing a tarot card reading shortly, and it's weird because there's like a blend of like I'm going to church, but I'm still heavily in the new age.
Right.
And I was doing a card reading, and I'm trying to open my third eye and become a reader. I'm doing a reading for my friend. This guy comes in with an eye patch on into we were having a party, and like a lot of people would just come over, like people I didn't know. I had roommates. They would invite random people over. So
Uh-huh.
this guy, I'm doing a tarot card reading for my friend with an eye patch on. The eye patch was fake too. That's another thing, is that it was like, oh, he has an eye patch, like something's wrong with his eye. That's okay. But it makes me laugh because it was a fake eye patch in the
Yeah.
middle, like switch it to the other eye. And I was like,
It was
you're
for the look.
yeah. So he comes in, and I'm giving my friend a tarot card reading. And he's like, oh, this is so cool. I want a tarot card reading. That's awesome. I was like,
Mhm.
okay, sir, you're killing the vibe, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm reading the cards, and they're not I know my friend's life. I know we're doing like little relationship reading, and the cards were like super duper dark. And I was like, ooh, girl, these cards aren't yours. And she goes, yeah, these aren't my cards. What the heck? She's all dramatic about it.
Uh-huh.
And are those my cards? And I was like, yeah, they're your cards. And I was just like in shock. I was like, I'm so spiritually woke. I knew that they were his cards when he came in the room. I was like bragging about it. He was just going through a dark time. He's very mysterious. Like eye patch says it all. It's mysterious.
Yeah.
Afterwards, we're cleaning up the house. Me and my roommates are cleaning. And I was telling them about this reading that, oh, I'm so enlightened. Listen to this
Right.
experience I had. And as I bring up the guy with the eye patch, we hear banging like someone's breaking into our house. And we're like, whoa, what is that? We turn off all the lights. We're like hiding. It's late at night after a party. And so my roommate was like, I got a gun. I'm going to walk out there with a gun and go see if there's someone out there. And there was like a balcony where I could look down and see them looking around outside. And as they go outside and they're looking, I see this big black orb like manifest above where we heard the noises and fly down and fly behind us into my
What?
room. Yeah, like this is a not a person breaking in. We got something
Oh my goodness. No gun is gonna do anything at that rate, you know?
right. And so I did, what all new age practices say to do, bring out the sage and the crystals, and
Yeah.
like throwing that around the house, cleansing it.
Mhm.
And after that, for weeks, we had this weird noises would happen in the closet. We had things fall down, just like a little spooky closet action for some reason.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Turns out that the guy with the eye patch, he had a shirt on over his clothes, and he left it in the room with the spooky closet, and the
Okay.
spooky closet the whole time. It was like weird. Once we got rid of the shirt, all the spooky activity stopped in the closet.
I believe that because when I was first, coming out of the New Age, I had these statues everywhere. I had Medusa, I had Egyptian statues, I had all these things. And like, I remember I went to at this time, I wasn't a Christian. I was super anti-Christ too, but I was getting really serious about my protection because you see something crazy like that black orb and you're like, all right, like, I got to do something. So I was trying everything, to protect myself too. I went to the Catholic Church, I got holy water, I'm sprinkling it everywhere, I'm doing all these things, and I still felt so creepy in my apartment. And then that's when I knew I needed to throw away everything. I needed to throw away the tarot cards, throw away the Medusa statue, because these objects, they really do like carry spirits with them, I feel like.
So did you throw everything away before you gave your life to Christ?
It was all like, I can't even remember. It was all intermixed. It all
Mhm.
happened really fast because I saw like the biggest, darkest, scariest demon I'd ever seen. And I was just so terrified. And at that time, like, I wasn't a believer in Jesus yet, but I prayed to Jesus that night because that was the first time I prayed in 2 years. It's just crazy, like your instinct. And so I prayed that night. And then after that, I was like studying all the different religious and historical perspectives on good and evil. I just kept going back and forth, like, how do you protect yourself from evil and all these things? And it was like at the same time, like Jesus was really pursuing me. Like I wasn't even trying to I don't know if you can relate to that. Like, I wasn't trying to pursue him because it was honestly like when you're like such an enlightened one and you're a tarot reader and this is your brand, like, I don't want to go fall in love with Jesus and that's going to mess up everything that I'm doing? So, yeah, I had a really hard time with all of that, but he showed me more and more that he was real. I had dreams, I had all these things. I went to church and like the Holy Spirit just like began to convince me that it was all real and it was all true. So I feel like it was right around that time because I think like you were explaining, like I would go to church with my friend Tammy, because I told her what happened, and she was the only Christian I knew in Arizona, and she was like, "Come to church with me," and so I started going, and so I think like God was moving in me before I even really knew what was happening. I think it was right around the time because I didn't get baptized until maybe 6 months later after I like gave my heart to Christ. I got baptized later. So I think it was in the same amount of time when I was like, okay, everything needs to go. Like this old life gone. And I bought a cross. I remember going to TJ Maxx and I bought a cross because as a little girl when I would see scary things, I remember my mom told me you can cast it out in the name of Jesus and she gave me a cross then. So not to go I feel like I keep going on tangents, but yeah, right
No,
around the same time. It was all intermixed.
so I have a similar thing where it's kind of like it's all intermixed and a little blurry at times where I'm like, when
Right.
did this how did this happen? This all ties together even with what you just said. So I felt like God was pursuing me. Looking back, I started going to church. I had a friend reach out and be like, "Hey, want to have lunch?" And she was kind of like an older woman. She was one of my friend's moms, and she wanted to have lunch with me. And she started talking to me about Jesus, and I was like, "Jesus!" Like,
Uh-huh.
all
Uh-huh.
like, but I was respectful because she was older, and I'd listen to her. And then it's funny because now, like, I do Bible studies with her, and like,
Oh,
she was
full
like,
circle.
yeah, full circle. But like there were little seeds being planted, and at the time
Yeah.
I was just, oh, whatever. I'm still doing my new age stuff. But it's weird that a lot of stuff is kind of blurry. So how I got out of it was finally getting to that point. I had a severe, and it's weird because I don't remember exactly what it was, but around this time, whenever I had a nightmare of some sort. I don't know if it was sleep paralysis or a nightmare, but I woke up crying out to Jesus. Whatever it was scared me so bad. And I
Mm.
don't know why I don't remember it. Like it seems like that would be something I would remember. I don't remember what it was, but whatever it was scared me so bad. I called out to Jesus and I was like, okay, I called out to Jesus and that's what woke me up. So I must have been having sleep paralysis. And
Yeah.
so once I kind of realized like, is Jesus really who Jesus says that
Mm.
Jesus is? Like there was a lot of demonic attack and a lot of spiritual things. Like once I started going to church and the seeds started being planted, it was like the demons started rearing their ugly heads. They started showing
Yeah.
me who they were like, oh yeah, you think that I thought I had spirit guides. So there's like
Yes.
spirit guides started being like, oh, you're going to church. We don't like that. And they started getting like kind of more aggressive spiritually towards me, it seems like. So I called out to Jesus, and then it wasn't an instant like transformation. I didn't actually like completely give my life to Christ until maybe a year later.
Okay.
But slowly I started like getting rid of the tarot cards. I had a really profound dream. And this ties into kind of like the homemaking and the family oriented stuff.
Yeah.
Because I was kind of like in a pretty modern dating relationship. I would just kind of date for, it was casual for me to date people. And around the time before, I don't know if it's before or after, around the time that I had this encounter with Jesus that led me to start pursuing him more and then eventually like fully giving my life to him, I had a dream that God pulled me out of my body. Jesus came and like pulled me out of my body and took me to heaven and introduced me to a bunch of little, it was a bunch of little orbs, and they were my kids.
Oh.
And I was like, don't you come too soon. And they're like, we won't, mom. And they're so
Oh
cute.
my goodness.
And they responded to me. After that, I remember it like that was a profound dream, because then I started thinking like, wait, do I want to get married and have kids? That wasn't something I even thought about at like 18 years old.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I was like coming from a divorced family. I actually thought I would never want to get married and have kids. I thought I wanted to like just pursue a career, never get married, be an independent woman, doesn't need no man.
The culturally pushed message for women. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was in it. I believed that. I wanted to be a boss babe, don't need a man, not have kids. That kind of I started questioning my relationship. Like I was like, do you see us ever getting married? And the guy I was dating at the time was like, no, like we're just gonna date for like a year and then we'll go our separate ways. And we did. That's what we did. And that's what kind of led me to start going down the path of looking into like, oh, like I want a family, I want a home, like without this dream, this profound dream that Jesus planted that led me to be more family oriented and actually like now be pursuing that. Like that's like my main focus now is family.